Just put the barrels outside the garage door. So, 12 feet. Not our job.
Gee, the funny part about it, I'll have to say the visiting nurses I've had would do, if I had ever asked them to do anything like
The
that.
nurses are great. These are 2 Haitian girls.
Oh, okay, all right.
They don't even speak English well. What do you say, good?
Yeah, because I was going to say, my visiting nurses have been tremendous. They'll come before they go to work so I can go to the Cape and they'll do just about anything.
Well, nurses are like that. They're the...
Yeah. Do you know Patty Monahan?
No.
She's a nurse. She lives. Do you know Patty Monahan, Bob?
No, I don't.
She's a nurse. She lives in Raynham. Do you know her?
I don't.
What a gem she is.
Yeah.
Is she your nurse?
Yeah, yeah. She's the one that comes most of the time. She's had
Was she with the VNA or?
for Partners Healthcare,
Oh, okay.
and I had her 5 days a week. Now I'm down to 2.
Yeah, yeah.
But she is a gem. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't come any nicer than her, and
Yeah.
So she's a nurse?
yeah, yeah.
Generally, the gals who do that are either absolutely terrific, over the top,
Oh,
or
they're
else
awful.
or else they're just putting in their time and,
You, yeah,
getting their paycheck.
yeah.
Sit the island all day long. Unless I yell at her and say, do something, do this.
Yeah.
She lives over on, gee, what's the name of the road? It's over there, heading up to 138. Goes across the street, up near the pond, but back in
Calvin
the,
Street?
huh?
Calvin Street?
No, this side, way this side.
King Philip?
Oh, Britain?
Britain Street?
No, it's this side of 130. It's down, it's near the pumping station down there, up that road. What's that, Elm Street? Yeah, South Elm Street.
Oh, South Elm, okay.
But it goes, it's one of those roads, there's a development off Elm Street, and that's where she lives. up in
Oh,
there.
okay. Yeah. If you go up Elm toward 138, the development on the left.
Yeah, but actually, I think it goes across the street, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Mrs. McKinney?
We're ready. We're ready. Do you have, this is
Okay.
yours.
The
I got it
first,
right here, okay.
Oh.
I'll have to sign it.
before we commence the
Don't let me forget.
meeting of the Raynham
gotta
Board
sign
of
it.
Appeals, I'd like to take 1 minute of silence for our departed friend Marty Newfield. Thank you. First item to come before the Raynham Board of Appeals tonight is petition number 865, Carp/Dubuca. Did I pronounce that right? You did. Wine and Liquors, South Street West. And would the clerk read the application, please?
The Raynham Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 14th, 2011, 7 p.m. at the Raynham Veterans Memorial Hall, 558 South Main Street, to consider petition number 865, Buddy Carp, Dubucas Wine and Liquors, North Attleboro. Request for a variance from the Raynham zoning bylaws, section 6.6.9, signs requiring permits, to allow a wall-mounted sign with a total of 240 square feet instead of the allowed 120 square feet on an existing building at 600 South Street West, Cape Roads Plaza. Said building being located in the southwest corner of said plaza. Locus, 600 South Street West, Raynham, Assessors Map 14, Lot 218B, and it was published in the Taunton Daily Gazette, May 24th and May 31st, and it was attested by make sure this has been done. It was tested by Gordon Luciano of the Board of Assessors.
Thank you very much. To announce the proceedings are being transcribed and recorded to provide all full minutes and accurate minutes and allow full participation of all members. The members of the board participating tonight will be on my immediate right, Roy Latimer, clerk of the board. On my left, vice chairman of the board, Carl Verana. My name is Newton. I'm chairman of the board. The hearing will come to order at the municipal building, town of Raynham, at 4 minutes after 7 o'clock on this, what is it today, the 14th of,
Yep.
14th, when you retire, this is what happens to you if you lose it. 14th of September, 2011. All those who intend to give testimony, please stand and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give this board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Will the petitioner come forward and present reasons for granting the petition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney David Gay, I appear on behalf of the petitioners. I did submit, I believe, a black and white of this, but I will just pass this so you can take a look at. That's a rendering of how the sign would look on the building. If
we have that
it were to
in
be
here
installed
somewhere.
per our request.
I might have that in
I
there.
didn't see it before.
Yeah, there's a black and white there.
Oh, yeah.
As the clerk read, Mr. Chairman, we are seeking a variance from section 6.6.9, asking for a sign of 240 square feet on the building that's being completely renovated right now at the far southwest corner of this plaza. That particular picture, which shows how the sign would look, I've been advised by the sign engineer who's here this evening that represents 8.5% coverage of the square footage that we have in the frontage of this building, which is quite small. It's a big-sized building in a plaza that I know, I'm preaching to those of you who probably know better than me, but this plaza, when it was first developed many years ago, was vibrant and full with various tenants. And then all of a sudden, when the economy, I think it was in the 80s, when the economy went down, that plaza started to fall apart and became vacant, and other tenants moved in, but the anchors had left. And over the last few years, despite another economic downturn, we've had, Raynham has experienced, at least in this plaza, a regeneration of the plaza. Such that in the last few years, I think there's been 2 or 3 more buildings that have, sections of the buildings that have been opened. This building, this particular portion of the building's been vacant for well over 10 years. And it sits so far back from 44 that you almost don't see it. My client has decided to relocate his business to this location. He's putting in a substantial sum of money into this leased property. The building will be, the liquor store will be 12,225 square feet, which is a pretty good sized store. All of that will obviously enhance the plaza. It is the biggest vacancy in this southwest corner. There will be 2 small areas, one on each side, that is still rentable, but with the renting of this particular location, the whole plaza will now have a full, will have tenants.
Excuse me, that has 4 units, are the 4 units or 3 units?
4 units of, I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
The stores that were previously there, that's occupying 4 of those stores.
Mr. Cotney, I'm not sure whether it's 4 or 3.
I'm not sure, it's been vacant so long. I don't, were you asking how many?
Excuse me, when you speak, you must stand
I'm sorry.
and give your name.
Okay, my name is Buddy Carp. It's been vacant for so long, I'm not sure how many tenants my one store is replacing, but I would say it's at least 3, could be, at least 3, could be 4, but I'm not sure.
There's an indication here that it may be 4.
It could be. The two
Thank you.
units, one on each side, are still going to be, right now, as of now, are vacant. We suggest that in order to grant a variance, I know the board is familiar with the requirements of both your local bylaw and the state's zoning rules and regulations set forth in section 10. The findings that we suggest you can make is that a little enforcement of the square footage limitation would be a hardship, because for this building to be successful, and we believe one of the reasons it's been one of the last to be leased again, is its visibility is so far from 44, you have to be able to drive by and see it. So we ask that the sign be bigger, because it's not too big for the location, and it will give the visibility from 44. There is no other visibility for this particular business in this plaza. If you look at the existing signs that are there now, Bed Bath & Beyond, Staples come to my mind, they're pretty good sized signs. I didn't go measure them, but I'm pretty sure they're bigger than what we're proposing. I'm sure they were there before the bylaw was changed, but if you're going to put a store of this size in this location, we respectfully suggest that it would meet the purpose of the bylaw, which I quoted in my notes to you. One of your purposes set forth in 6.6.1 is to provide for convenience, enhance the visible environment of visible environment of the town, provide for safety and convenience and public welfare. I know it's not a directional sign, and I'm not saying it is a directional sign, but it is a sign that will tell people where the business is. And from 44, if you put the sign that we're allowed by the bylaw, I suggest that you probably won't be able to understand what that business is. It's just too far away. So we think you can find that first basis. The second is that it won't derogate from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. Again, I suggest that it is for the public convenience. People need to know where the business is. The business plan, obviously we have existing customers, but the business plan is to try to attract customers, bypass traffic on 44. We know there's a liquor store. It's someplace on 44. They can drive by, they can see where it is. So we don't think it will derogate from the intent and purpose, and it's not a detriment to the public good. There's certainly no environmental hardships to this with respect to putting the sign up. Fits the building. It's a large. We've got 120 linear feet of, not frontage, but frontage on the parking lot. And the square footage of that wall area, like I said, when I started, it's about 8.5%. It's calculated by Dave from the sign company. He advises me, and I can only represent what he said, was that his experience throughout the state is the average is about 15%. So we're well under the average of what's allowed. And I think the purpose of the bylaw, I understand, is to, I think, more in areas where you don't want a bunch of signs along the roadway and sign after sign. But when you're in a plaza like this, I think you need to fit the plaza. And this good-sized building with this sign would respectfully fit the plaza.
Thank you. You made your point. Are there others here who would be favorable to the petition? Board members may question the
I'm just
petition.
curious, I assume there's gonna be a sign at the entrance, an entrance sign also, right? On the uprights out front?
There's a pylon in front.
Right.
There's very little space there.
Right.
You are,
Oh, Buddy Cop, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had to state my name again. But there is a pylon out front where you'll see Staples has a very large
Right.
sign, Bed Bath & Beyond
Mhm.
does. We won't have anything like that. We have a small, two squares that will have accessible to us, which will not be visible at all from heading one way on Route 44 because there's a big tree in the way, and heading the other way, if you're driving by at 40 miles an hour, you probably won't notice it.
Thank you.
Will this be lit?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things I noticed, I scaled off this sign, I think is certainly in scale with the building, and it's approximately 1,050 feet from Route 44.
Mhm.
So I don't see any objection. The only thing I would like to add, though, in looking at your plan, the one thing, our population is getting older, and I do not see anywhere near the entrance any handicapped parking spaces. They're really down at the end, and anytime I've gone in there, those have been occupied, and I'd at least like you to consider putting some handicap parking at the entrance to that, because, I mean, I'm sure you have a number of handicapped people coming in for your services.
Appreciate your comments. It wasn't something I was aware of, and I will definitely, speak to the landlord.
Yeah.
I don't have the authority to do it
Yeah.
myself, but I will definitely speak to the landlord and suggest that they do that.
But the spaces are way down near that dollar store, and somebody that's
I would
having a trouble.
appreciate that also.
I think it's an excellent
Okay.
idea, and I will call the landlord and suggest that they do that.
Okay, thank you.
And you, changing, you, for many years, you were the Raynham.
True.
What prompted you to change it to your own name?
Yeah, I gave it a lot of thought, and, frankly, the reason behind it is with the larger store, we're trying to draw consumers from a wider area. So, although we do have customers outside of Raynham, with this larger format store, we'd really like to, in addition to the great business we get from the Raynham residents, try and draw more business from Lakeville and, Lakeville surrounding towns, Bridgewater even, that sort of thing. So it's more of a destination store, and I felt that by changing the name, it would give it more of that type of a feel.
How much more square footage do you have at this proposed location?
Currently, we have 5,700 square feet, and we're moving to 12,200, so significant difference.
Tremendous, yeah.
The other thing, the parking is gonna be so much easier and it puts
Lot
more
easier.
life in that
Right.
complex.
Probably need one of those electric carts to go around and pick up
With a big basket in front of it.
Yeah,
There you go, yeah.
large basket.
You broke a lot of bottles last time you were in there, didn't you?
And have a policeman to direct those and watch the people aren't over drinking.
We have automatic doors, so, people have to fight with our current doors, so it'll be a lot
Good,
easier
yeah.
if it, handicapped and regular people
Good.
getting in and out of the
Yeah, yeah.
facility.
That's good, that's fine. And the parking is gonna be much more
Parking is excellent.
fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any communications
No.
favoring the petition? Any objectors present? Any communications requesting denial?
No.
You feel that you want to summarize, or you covered the waterfront?
Yes, thank you.
Waterfront, well.
Only in rainy weather.
Any pertinent comments from others? Hearing none, we'll go into executive session. All may remain while the board deliberates, but none may speak. Sir,
I don't have any problem with this. I think it's in proportion with what's going on there.
it looks good. It's just
I don't have a problem with it at all.
gonna be another favorable addition to
Sure.
Raynham.
Sure.
That area has been so dormant for 10 years.
At least,
There used to be a grocery store there and a Kmart, and it's quite a place.
No problem, just hope they will look at the handicap
Just
parking,
the
that's all.
handicap parking.
Yep. I think it's gonna be an asset to Route 44.
Think so? Mrs. McKinney, will you make a note on the handicap parking?
Yes.
Thank you. Your vote?
Yes.
Your
Yes.
vote? My vote is yes. You have reached a unanimous decision here in your favor. The town clerk will receive the report of our action tonight within 15 days. And you might want to record that in the Northern Bristol District Registry of Deeds to confirm the situation. Your attorney will advise you of that. Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
I want a copy of that, because you needed an executive time. I want the proof.
That's
You need a
funny.
telescope to see anything smaller.
Well, fine. Okay, here we go. next hearing is petition number 864, Donovan of Richmond Street. I'll announce the proceedings are being transcribed, provide full and accurate minutes, and to provide full participation of all present. The hearing will come to order at 8:19 minutes after 7 o'clock on this 14th day of September 2011, Municipal Building, Town of Raynham. The participating board members will be, again, on my left, Vice Chairman Carl Verana. On my right, Roy Latimer, Clerk of the Board. My name is Newton, I'm Chairman of the Board. And will the clerk read the petition and other relevant matters relative to this? They are contesting the building inspector or building commissioner's report on this.
Public meeting notice. The Raynham Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 14th, 2011, 7 p.m. at the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, to consider petition number 864, Sherry Donovan, Raynham, Mass. Request to review refusal of an administrative officer to approve permit appeal to allow an existing treehouse to remain as previously allowed. Locust is 107 Richmond Street, assesses map 14, lot 62, Raynham, Mass. It was published in the Gazette on July 26th and August 2nd. And do you have the receipt for paper? This does need to be attested, doesn't it? Okay. And it was attested by the Board of Assessors, the orange pile here, by Michael Lally.
Thank you. Mrs. McKinney, do you have a copy of the letter from Mr. Machado?
It's in the file.
Yep.
Good. We'll hear that later. All those who intend to give testimony, please rise and raise your right hand.
I think I got it right.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give this board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Will the petitioner or representative come forward and give reasons for the granting of the petition before the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, I'm Attorney William Rounds. My office is at 115 Broadway in Taunton.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
It has been a while, Mr. Newton. Good to see you again. I represent the petitioner Sherry Donovan. I believe two of these three members sat on this case previously, approximately 3 years ago, when they were granted a variance to allow a treehouse that had already been built on their property that encroached on the back and side yard setbacks. And this board did see fit to grant it. The problem was there was a 3-year restriction put on it. The 3 years have expired. Based upon that, the building commissioner issued a cease and desist order essentially, and that's what's been appealed to this board. We don't really quarrel with the commissioner's decision. We think that was appropriate given the decision. We're basically using this process as a vehicle to get back before the board to request either removal of the time limitation or an extension of it. And I don't think he could have done that on his own. I think it does need to come from this board, and so it was appropriate for him to basically tell us, you have to take it down unless you take it to the board. And so his decision was appealed here.
You have a copy of our decision?
I do. I do.
Can I add something? I'd like to add something. I was at the initial hearing. I missed the next two, but I have listened to the transcriptions of the
Okay, so you're
other
aware of what the
meetings.
evidence was?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. That'll save me some time, then. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Because none of those facts have changed. Basically, all of the testimony that was previously given with regard to the need for a variance, the conditions on the property, the fact that this was the only place really to locate it because it's the only tree sturdy enough to support a tree house on the property, and that's why it ends up being too close to the boundaries. All of those things are true, gave rise to the hardship. However, it seems to me from reviewing the decision of the board that perhaps, and I don't want to presume too much, But it seems that the reason the time restriction was put on might have been in part because there was a perception on the part of the board that this had all been done illegally or improperly or with disregard for the town's bylaws. And after discussing this with my client's husband, I find that that was not what happened. And so I'd just like to briefly review for you what did happen. He's here, he could testify if you'd like to hear directly from him, as is she and the rest of their family. Basically, before anything was constructed, Mr. Dobebe is Ms. Donovan's husband, did approach the building commissioner in town, did explain that he wanted to build a tree house on his property, on that tree, asked if any permits were required, was told basically, no, it's just a tree house, as long as you do it in a safe manner, no permits are required, we're not gonna bother you with it. He also approached his neighbors before he did anything, informed them what he was going to do, and they said they had no problem with it. He then began to construct the tree house. At some point, the previous information he was given changed, and he was told, yes, you are gonna need to get a permit for that. I don't know if it's because of the size, I'm not sure what it was that changed.
Height, I think it was because I put.
Excuse me?
Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Dobie can testify later about the conversation with the building commissioner, but in any event, he was informed after construction had commenced, before it was completed, that he did indeed have to seek a permit. And so he did, and was granted a permit. However, in the course of that process, it was determined that there was a violation on the setbacks. So he was told, yes, you'll be given a permit, but it is subject to you going to the zoning board of appeals and getting a variance for the setback violations. So it wasn't a case of, we just build this and try to get away with it and hope nobody notices that we're doing something illegal here. Everything was done with prior consultation with the proper authorities, and based on information that was given to them, they proceeded. As soon as they were told that they needed permits, they sought and obtained those permits. And so none of this, I don't believe, was disclosed to the board last time, because reading your decision, and Mr. Dobie informed me he did not testify at the last hearing, but reading your decision, it seems to be assumed that things were done illegally, and that's why we're not gonna let you keep this forever. We're gonna put a time restriction on it. There is a hardship, obviously, of having to remove it. It's a fairly significant treehouse. I think you've probably seen it. I was up there today. And I think the other consideration or concern was that it may not be sturdy enough to last very long. Well, it has been 3 years. It is extremely sturdy. There have been a number of storms in the intervening years, including the tropical storm that blew through here a few weeks ago. And there's been no damage to the structure whatsoever. It remains very safe, very solid. So if that was the concern about not allowing it to stay more than 3 years, I think it has stood the test of time, and there was no indication that it's going to be coming down on its own anytime soon. The hardship remains. It's a major financial hardship to take it down. The economy certainly hasn't gotten any better in the last 3 years. It would still be a major hardship to take it down, and the children still use it on a regular basis. So for all of those reasons, and for the reasons that the board saw fit to grant the initial variance, we would request that you reconsider the 3-year time limit and grant either an extension or a waiver completely of the 3-year time limit, whichever you see fit. Again, everyone's here. We'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any further testimony you'd like to have. Thank you.
Are there others here who are favorable to the petition?
Yes,
And your name is?
Roberta Andresen.
Fine, and you're going to speak, are you?
I would like to.
Fine, why don't you come forward and speak at the podium?
First of all, it may be necessary for me to take a drink. I'm going through some treatment, and will this help?
I
Is-
hope.
All right, I'll speak up. I'm going through some medical treatment, and you will see that I may break out into a sweat and everything, but I want to speak tonight, okay? They are neighbors of mine, and I talked to the gentleman who's directly across the street from them, and he has absolutely no problem with the treehouse. The gentleman and the wife that lives right here, they have a problem, I think, but there's some very serious activity going on there, where,
You may speak for yourself,
all right,
and not for your neighbors or any other person.
all right. For myself, I think it's a very, very valuable item in the family, in their family. We have in Raynham, we have so many drugs, we have so many, right now you open the newspaper and everybody's stealing pipes out of houses, they're doing everything. But this family stays together. Now, one of the young boys here had a birthday party and a sleepover in the house, and it went on all weekend. But there was always the father there, always the mother there, watching what's going on. The children stay home because he has supplied everything for them right there. They will not be the ones that get in trouble. We have absolutely no problem with the treehouse. And if you have granted a variance ever, it may be a precedent to grant a variance or whatever legal term, that you call it for this, to allow this to be there for the family, and so that this man can continue raising his children in a way that they're not gonna become bad statistics.
Thank you very much, you made your point.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would be in favor of the petition?
In favor.
Come forward, don't be afraid, speak up.
Sherry Donovan. Hi. I just think it's a great thing because my street, when I first bought the house and I moved to Raynham, I was aware that there was a speed limit there. And a lot of times that street there is used as a shortcut. And there's a lot of people, I don't know how enforced it is, but there's a lot of accidents that's actually happened there. Even my car has been hit in the front of my house. And total, and I have a big SUV. And a lot of times, we put a lot of the stuff in the back of our house just so that my children are safe. And by that being in the back, they play a lot in the back. And otherwise, I have to be out, and with them all the time if they're in the front, because my house is very close to the sidewalk, and it's kind of at a turn where everybody is coming down and making that shortcut. First thing in the morning when I wake up at like 7 to put my kids on the bus, it's almost like a highway. It's like a mini highway that everybody uses that. And I didn't realize that that was a shortcut to either go to all the shops on 44 or take it into the town of Raynham. But now, I realize, and I don't know how enforced the speed limit is. Like I said, there has been many accidents since I've lived there, and I've been there now going on maybe 13, 14 years. And I've raised my family there. And I appreciate that we've had it through this, 3 years that my kids play in it all the time. It's a great thing to keep them safe.
Fine. Thank you very much, Mrs. Donovan.
Thank you.
Hi, Khalil Dabib, husband Sherry. I just want to say one point. The last meeting, when I was here, I don't know if you were here?
No.
I broke out and I left the room of one thing is, it was very disrespect to me where the gentleman says, not anybody wants to do anything illegal, they feel like it, they just go ahead and do it. I'm not that type of guy.
I believe you did that at the initial meeting that I was present at.
I walked out.
Yes.
Because I couldn't stand here and not saying anything because my lawyer said, you can't talk. Well, I've never been through this before, and I wanted to respect him, and I just walked out. I'm not that type of guy. Rod Palmer himself will even admit to that. When I came here to this building, actually it was on 138, and I asked him, I said, listen, Tony was 7 years old, I'm trying to give him a birthday party, and I said, what do you want, what do you want? He was at a friend's house, and he threw out as a treehouse, he wants a treehouse, and it was a marvelous idea. And I said, do I need any permit for a treehouse? He goes like, no. As long as it's safe and steady, make sure your kid's not gonna hurt themselves. And I went all out and I tried to make it safe. I did it with the composite wood, I did it with the 2x12s, all the, I think you have all the stuff on it. And even on top railing, it's all that plastic stuff, the tracks, so they don't get no splinters and none of that. And I only have 4 or 5 trees. That's where it can go. I'm not gonna put it on one tree and have it flimsy. So I joined all them trees together. That's the plans on it. And right now you can move the house, but you can't move them trees. Them trees actually became very strong because the structure put them together, like a big, huge hug. Okay? And we've had it tested by a lot of people. I believe they asked somebody to come and test it. And I've been willing to have it tested again for you guys to make sure it's safe. It wasn't just a variance as far as the one side, it was 4 feet the last time we were here. Because the first thing I went to Mr. Pichet, that's his land behind me, which is 20 acres of wetland or whatnot. It happened to us, to be clear from the wetland, we got the clearance. And I said, Bill, this is what's going on, that's what I'm building right there. And he actually helped me move the wood, and he said, what a marvelous idea. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, we had the little incident with the Rogers where the thorn from the tree went in Nick's eye. And I said, Mr. Rogers, we have to clean him up from the bottom up a little bit. So those are kids, they're running after the ball, they're not paying attention, and that was it. That was the biggest fire I thrown in my life. And it's never stopped until we put the fence and everything's quiet now, it's beautiful. My trees were from the ground up. From the ground, they were all dead branches, but I trimmed them all the way up, and now they live in nice and green and beautiful because all the dead leaves are gone out of them, and the life came back to the tree. That's how I think it should be. So, all I want to say, we never tried to do anything illegally. And I don't see anything wrong with it the way it is now. For example, I have my oldest son. I send him to BC High in Boston. He comes home, he goes to that treehouse and sits there and studies to stay away from his brothers because he has a lot of work and a lot of exams. So it's want to get away, even if you guys want to go and try and see how it is, you'll feel how it feels just to sit in it and breathe clean air and no mosquitoes and nothing around you within inside that. Because it's all insulated, it's all nice, it's done right. And it's not even noisy. If you close the door and you're talking in there, you don't hear noises outside to say that we're bothering anyone. My adjacent property, that's Mr. Pichet's son, he actually loved the idea, gave us a letter, which my wife couldn't find this time, but they read it the last time here, that he wished he could have done that for his own kids. And he had no problem with it. And that's the closest neighbor to me. The Rogers not even close to me. This is the treehouse. This is Mr. Pichet's son. Mr. Pichet lives there, and these are the Rogers. So the only person that's really close to me gave me that wonderful letter, and I respect him for that. Until today, 3 years later or 10 years later, they've never heard a voice, they never heard a problem, and thank God there's no accidents. Because you can't jump unless you climb up, but you can. It has a nice slide, wonderful slide. It has stairs to go up and down. I don't know what else to say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. McKinney, is a cup of water available? Thank you. How about questioning the petitioner or Representative Bill?
You were not the attorney last time around, were you, Mr. Rance?
I was not Mr. Brown.
Who was? Do you know his number?
I believe it's Attorney Gay.
That was David Gay, okay. So I know I remember sitting on this and,
Thank you very
it was
much.
continued at one point. And, this is a question I suppose to you. I mean, you said that nobody intends to do anything illegal and so on. I don't doubt that. I don't think anybody went out and said, I'm gonna go do a terrible thing and put something over in the town. I think the problem was that, Rod Palmer, if he's approached and said, and asked, do I need a permit for a treehouse, he's thinking a treehouse. He's not thinking a structure that's, if I remember correctly, this is like 350 square feet.
It's 10 by 10 on one end by 14 on the other. That's a treehouse itself. But then
Then you've got a deck
on the
all the way
outside
around.
to keep the trees together. Yes, sir. It's just to keep
You
the
were
trees.
up there.
I climbed up there, I know. In fact, you were at the house the same day that I was.
Yeah,
And I took a walk up and
that's
you
right.
declined.
So you see how solid it is.
I have no concerns about that house falling down. I think that house is gonna be there after styrofoam, okay? That thing is bolted together and it's, the place, the place is 350 square feet. That's the problem. And it's put together, it looks like it was built by, Bob the Builder and his whole crew. And, I think that's the real problem with the thing. It's enormous. It's out of character, and that's the problem we had. And I distinctly remember at the other hearing also that I believe Ms. Donovan was here, and she basically said to us, please give us the 3 years until my kids are a little bit older. And we compromised and said, fine. She said, that's all I want, that's all we need it for, and we won't be, you won't see us again in the future. And 3 years later, we're here again. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not saying that anybody did anything nasty, but I mean, can you explain to us why we're here again 3 years later when that's, you know, I mean, what's different today than 3 years ago?
Well, two things. Specifically, what the decision says about the issue of somebody trying to put one over is basically the board was concerned with the fact that the treehouse was constructed without a building permit and without consideration for and regard of Raynham zoning bylaws, and that's the part we think is inaccurate. Because
Okay.
there was consultation with town officials before anything was built.
Okay.
So there was not disregard for the bylaws. So I just wanted to try to make that clear, to the extent that that's what contributed to the condition. What else is different, obviously, is just that you've got 3 years of track record now since that time, and as far as I know, no issues whatsoever, no safety concerns, no detriment to the neighborhood, no bother to the neighbors. You mentioned it's big, yeah, it is large, I'll give you that. But it is not very visible from any other property.
Yeah.
It's only for the safety, it's, that deck can get away, but then where
Excuse
are you
me.
gonna put it? I'm sorry.
So basically, that's what it is. And again, economically, financially, it's still gonna be a major hardship to remove it. It's been a tough 3 years for everybody, including this family. Now's not a really good time to incur that expense. So they just thought, given the fact that they have a track record, given the fact that they wanted to make it clear that they did seek permits or inquire about the necessity of getting permits before they built anything. And yes, maybe might have been a misunderstanding as to what was being proposed. I don't know, I wasn't there. But I can understand how that may have happened. But again, once they were told, no, you've got to get permits, you've got to go to the zoning board, they did all those things. And now that we're here, it's 3 years later, the hardship still remains. There haven't been any problems. They were
There
just
wasn't a
hoping
hardship in
we
the
could
first
see
place.
that.
What was the hardship, Mr. Rand?
Well, essentially, it's just no ability to put this anywhere else on the property, but those are the.
That's not a hardship running with the land, you know that. I mean, this was a compromise to try to accommodate these people and try to accommodate the kids.
Well, now the hardship on top of that is it's gonna cost a lot of money to take this thing down, and they're gonna lose.
The place was built, so it was infringing upon the neighbors. So no matter how well it's built or whatever you say it is, it was still infringing upon the neighbors. And that was one of the points that it was turned down on. And for the sake of the young man there that was 7 years old, we in our heart said, give him another 3 years. And now you're coming back again. What you speak, Roy?
Okay. I have several questions. One, how long after the treehouse was built did you put a pool in there?
Can I answer? Sherry Donovan. Actually, the way I wanted to answer is, while they were building the treehouse, I was getting permits for the pool.
Mhm.
There's like levels of permits for the pool as they, put the steps in for the pool. So the gentleman that came out to do the permits, the treehouse was being built, and he was also, like, I put an addition on my home, so I had different permits. So it wasn't like I was trying to do anything illegal, because I was in and out of this building the whole time with the people that were building in my home, getting permits for everything I did. So I didn't even realize until the first time now that there was even a question of me doing something illegal, because we did ask, and like the information that I received, that I didn't need a permit for a treehouse. I didn't realize that I did, and everything I've ever did in my property in Raynham, and I've changed it quite a bit. I have came here and I have got a permit for everything. And the last second meeting that I was in, my lawyer actually spoke for me, and what they suggested is that there was a question of safety, and they said that they would give us 3 years at least, so that my youngest son could have some time to enjoy such a beautiful thing that us as a family had built for him. And I agreed to that because there was really no other choice that I had. I didn't say that I'm just gonna let him, like, 3 years and that's it, definitely that's it. I didn't really speak. But now my kids have enjoyed it, and I realize what like a positive thing it is for my children, and that's why I'm coming back. Maybe tomorrow I want to increase my family, and I spent a lot of money. I know it will cost a lot of money, and he is very correct that it would be a financial hardship for me to remove that and to take it down. Not only financial hardship, it would be it would probably be very disappointing. You can ask any three of my children how much they use it and how safety and everything they feel in there, and I feel as a parent with them there because of the location, one, of my street. And my neighbors, I didn't only have one letter the last time. I don't know if you guys have copies. I was just running, as my husband said, my son goes to Boston College. I have to drive to Boston to pick him up, and my other two kids were in football. To come here quickly, I had a letter from everybody on that street that wrote nothing but positive things, and I do have copies. I don't know if you guys have copies, but I had set up a letter, and they signed it. So many people put comments on it of what a positive thing, and it was a great thing. There was nothing negative from any of my neighbors about it. So I don't know if I answered it too much, but like I said, we were inquiring about permits, and somebody was coming in the process of the permit for the pool and for the home.
Okay. This playhouse, and I assume it's possibly used as a pool house now too?
No.
Okay, well,
It's far
this
from it.
playhouse is approximately the third of a house size of many houses in Raynham. There are a lot of houses in Raynham that are just a little over 1,000
Do you
square
have the right
feet.
measurements?
The house itself.
It's,
not
no,
big.
the structure, let me finish, please. The structure's over 300 feet. Now,
The location of the trees.
it was, I think, I'm not gonna say you were deceptive, however, I think you're a businessman, and I think if you should have known if I was you were putting up a shed that was 100 square feet, that you would need a permit. I think the building inspector was probably misled, thinking it's probably a 4x4 treehouse, just like most kids have, and my grandson has, and I built when I was, and I think at that time that you talked to the building inspector, I don't know whether you had drawings prepared for that, but somebody did some drawings for that. And it should have probably been presented to the building
I did,
inspector.
I brought it in, I showed him, I said,
What is your name, sir?
Khalil. The very, very first time I went there, I had a copy of my plot plan, and I showed him where that's the only trees I have in that corner, and that's where I wanna put the treehouse. And I even pointed out how we have to make the floor around all the trees, so it will hold it properly, because there's not one tree is gonna carry it. It's sitting in the center of the trees.
Are you telling us that you told Rod Palmer how big the structure was going to be?
I
And
pointed
he's- and
exactly
he's-
where the trees are.
And he said to you, you don't need a permit for that?
What I did with Rod Palmer,
But
I
are you
pointed,
telling us that you showed him how big the structure was going to be?
I showed him
and
on
he
paper,
told
yes,
you-
where it was, yes.
And you showed him how big it was gonna be, and he said you don't need a permit for that?
He never asked me for size at the time. I didn't even think of the size what it's gonna be at the time. Because when I
You
said,
didn't know what the size was gonna be at the time?
no, I never measured
You
it,
had drawings, you said.
but I never measured it. I had the plot plan from the,
But you know the difference
Oh, you
between
don't
10
have it,
feet
I'm
and
sorry.
30 feet.
I'm sorry?
You know the difference between 10 feet and 30 feet.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
you know,
it-
when sir, you're telling us that you could only build it and you had to build it this big because of where the trees were, and then you tell us that you have no idea how big a building was gonna be. I don't understand that.
Yeah, from far away, I never really put it together in my head how big it is. The deck of it is big, yes, but the house itself, it's not. I could have went across the whole thing, but I don't need it that big. I just went on the inside of the trees, you went there and you seen how it
I
is.
did.
It's partly for the security of it, to make it stronger and sturdy. That's the only reason that's the only choice if you wanna make it safe. Or make a treehouse where trying to climb up and two
You can
people
make it a
to
lot,
jump
you can
out.
make it a lot smaller and make it safe.
I think the main thing is closer to the lot lines than the law allows.
On one part of it, yes.
So that's something that should come before us, certainly.
If we
in
let,
review.
if we let everybody in this town, if we give you the right to do this, we're saying other people have the same right. If we let other people with children build tree houses the size of this town would look like Bangladesh.
I'm not saying it's truth, but I've seen a lot
It's very
worse than
well
that.
built. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just talking
I
about as far
understand,
as size.
I know what you're saying, I know it's
It's big.
been there, it's done, but you and I both know there's a lot worse cases than that treehouse.
Of course there
And it's
are.
approved.
I wouldn't say they're approved, but if they're,
I've seen 'em.
that should be
It should
gone
not have been
after.
approved.
That's right.
Not by us.
And the other thing I'd like to know, how many adults live in that house?
Huh?
How many adults live in that house?
How many adults?
Yeah,
Me and my wife and my brother.
because I see 6 cars about up there all the time. Is there another business there?
I have sickness in cars. I buy a car every month, registered, insured to my name. Go into that window right here, please, and find out how much excise tax I pay in this town.
Are these cars for sale?
$2,000, $3,000 excise tax a year. My cars are registered over in John Noblin's underneath. I rent a whole garage from John Noblin. I pay him $1,400 every 2 months for the last 7 years. And they're all registered, insured inside his
I'm
because
talking
they're
about-
all antique.
I'm
They
talking
all
about the
worth
6,
money.
these are not antique cars that I'm looking at. I'm looking at 6 cars in that yard most of the time. Are they cars that you're buying for sale?
No, it's not true at all. The cars that been there, and the same exact cars you've been looking at, that's the same cars that been there. I would like you to mark them and see. And they have a registration for every single one of them in my
They-
name.
Yes, they're registered. I agree.
In
that-
my name. You can run it here, you don't even need me. You can see how much excise tax I pay.
Okay.
Just for the record, when I was younger, we were just over in Lebanon for a month visit. What do I have in Lebanon? Cars. Since I was 12 years old, I didn't know how to drive. I bought 3 cars. I like cars. We used to be kids. My friends going out on hot dates, and I'm going racing. Say, I want to die in a car. I like cars.
Well,
And
you're-
right now, I see a car and I get crazy. I like them. Is that a crime? I registered my insurance. I paid my taxes on them. 2-3 months, I don't drive it. I put it away in the storage, and I still have every one of them.
Let's get back to the
Okay.
treehouse.
Yeah, you're fortunate you can afford all those, and
I work hard for it.
I realize that. But I think this structure far exceeds this in size, the scope of anything. I think the Board of Appeals at that time granted you the 3 years, and I think it came back to bite this board. And I think,
I came back to bite it, I don't think.
I do.
But when you have something like that for 3 years, and you get used to it, and now you see your kids are sitting there studying, getting away from the other distraction in the house, and here and there,
I think
it's
we're
hard to see
getting
it let
away
it go.
from the whole-
Yeah.
Have a
Yep.
seat, sir.
How old are your kids now, Mr. Khalil?
15, 13, and 10. Thank you. I'm sorry. Find the fresh air. They're close in age, so they can never sit still. One of them has
You
to
know,
run.
last time you walked out,
I
keep
cried.
keep chirping like that, and I'm gonna ask you to leave.
I'm sorry.
If you keep chirping up like that, I'm gonna ask you to leave.
Oh, I don't mean it disrespectful, sorry.
I know you probably don't, but you sound like it.
Sorry.
Are there any objectors present? Apparently not. Requesting denial, any letters?
No. We do have the letter, though, you had asked earlier about from the building commissioner.
I'd like to have that read
Okay.
right now.
The date, June 7th, 2001. Mrs. Sherry Donovan, 107 Richmond Street, Raynham, Mass. 02767. Dear Mrs. Donovan, I am in receipt of a letter from the Zoning Board of Appeals dated June 6, 2011, of which was mailed to you as the owner of 107 Richmond Street, Raynham, Mass. 02767. The ZBA granted your variance for the treehouse with the condition that it be removed after 3 years, which was the 10th birthday of your 7-year-old son at the time of approval of the variance. Your son is now 10 years old, and the treehouse shall be removed forthwith immediately. Failure to comply with this order will result in legal action in the Superior Court, with any and all fines being assessed to the maximum. My decision may be appealed to the Raynham Board of Appeals per Section 8 and 15 of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A. The appeal must be filed within 30 days of this letter. Respectfully, Dennis Machado, Building Commissioner and Zoning Officer.
Thank you very much. Would you like to summarize?
just very briefly, I think we got off track, and I apologize for that. We are just really just asking this board to reconsider the time limit.
There's no time for argument.
To keep it a little while longer, and that's all we're here for. So I'm not arguing. I'm just, again, asking the board to reconsider the time limit and allow them to keep it at least a little while longer. We think that the track record has been good, the safety is great, and there may have been some confusion last time as to how this all came about. We just tried to clarify that for you today. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any pertinent comments from others? Hearing none, I'll declare the meeting closed, that the board may now go into executive session. All may remain while the board deliberates, but none may speak. Carl?
I don't know, it's one of those situations where I feel bad, but I feel bad for the kids. I don't feel bad for, if this were Dad's treehouse, I'd say, see you later. And that's it, quite frankly, but,
I can't go up there.
I do feel bad for the kids, so, but, the situation is such that I'm not sure that we have all that much choice. And if we had some sort of an alternative, I might even feel bad enough to consider it, but,
I think that Rod Palmer, would he have been here, he would have straightened a lot of that out.
Mhm.
Because I think what they're saying is not close enough to what Rod had to say when he was here
Mhm.
relative to the treehouse. And the situation that I find that on two instances, it's too close to the lot line. That's the main thing, as far as I'm concerned. Whoever built it too close to the lot lines. Sir?
I agree with both of what you said. I feel sorry for the children too. However, I think if we were to allow this to remain, it's setting a bad precedence in this town, which, why bother having any bylaws?
Are you willing to consider a short extension?
What bothers me about that is that's what this board did last time. They did not appeal that decision, and I think I'm not opposed entirely of giving additional time, but I certainly wouldn't give
You can
3
build-
years.
You can build in a hook.
Huh?
You can build in a hook.
Yeah.
And you can extend it by some short period of time with the condition that they waive any further rights of appeal as a condition of getting that short extension.
I think that's probably a fair compromise, but I don't think it should be 3 years. But I think it has to come down eventually.
Give them another year, 18 months.
Right?
How do you feel about that?
Give them 15 months. Compromise.
15 months with
With a hook.
with the condition that they waive in exchange, in consideration of getting the extension, they waive any further appeals at the end of that time and agree not to contest any further orders.
I would agree to that.
15 months.
You want to talk to your client, Mr. Rounds?
Sure, we're allowed to still go back and forth, I'm
Huh?
happy to do that.
You can go outside with him for a minute if you like.
I'll now to open the hearing again till you come back. Oh, he's a bastard. Oh, those cars, I think they're mechanics liens.
What was that?
Mechanics liens. They don't pay the bill with the price, he brings the cars and puts them in the yard.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're not classic cars.
No. He had one classic car there I liked. It was it looked like it was a Rolls or Bentley.
Yeah. But I mean, is that running a business? It is to me.
It's an extension.
Mr. McKim. Mr. McKim.
It's an extension of an active business,
Just so you know.
but that's not before us.
There's no way in hell that
grandson's good, I think, 4x4.
You're gonna get the hook. You know what? You're gonna get the hook.
Hmm?
Pat's right out there with the hook.
I tell you what, though, I definitely wanna, I definitely want a tape of, Roy not objecting to the sign.
Huh?
Though. I think that was a milestone in the history of
What?
the board, that you're not objecting to a sign.
I'm more than fair, I'm more than fair on signs. You just have never seen a sign you didn't like. Woodlook, you must love it when you go to Las Vegas.
You know what, I've never been.
You should, you'd be happy.
I've never been, in heaven, huh? I've never been, I've been to a casino twice in my life, once down in the Bahamas, and once, my wife and I went to Foxwoods, because we were down in Mystic,
I've never-
Connecticut for the weekend, and I'll tell you what, we walked through Foxwoods, I've never seen so many people dragging an oxygen tank.
Oh, it's awful.
And I've never seen so many people that looked like they were gambling with next month's rent.
Oh, they are.
It's awful.
And last month, we were going down to Cape May and we stopped off at Atlantic City. We got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get out of here. It was so, it was so depressing. I've never been to Foxwoods or the other one. But I mean, you know who the winner is the minute you walk in there.
I'd like to go to Vegas, but, I'd like to just.
The shows and things, yeah.
I'd like to see some shows
Yeah.
and, I'd just like to have these.
I can remember when we were going south years ago, it must have been about 6 or 7, and gas stations used to have the slot machines in there. And my father filled his car up, and he got a quarter's change with the thing. And I remember him putting 5 nickels in a slot machine, and he lost them all. And I said, "Oh, that's awful." And because he wasn't a gambler, but he just, he had the 4, 5 nickels. And I said to myself then, I don't want any part of one of those
They
ever.
used to have the slots at the NCO club,
Oh, yeah.
down at Langley Field. And I was in I get calls from wives, "Why did you pay my husband this month?"
Yeah.
"Oh, we paid your husband this month." He just wouldn't go into the machine.
But what I thought was so depressing down in Atlantic City, you saw people were sitting on chairs and they were like sitting in an area of the tubes, the $20 tubes or whatever they buy. And, then you looked in the drawer and they had really nothing. And then if you listened a little bit when you walked by the payphone, you will hear, the credit card company won't give me any more money. But,
That's why the pawn shops do so well out there.
oh yeah, do you ever watch that?
Pawn Stars, yeah.
Yeah, oh
I
my,
like that show. I get a kick
Huh?
out of it. I get
Yeah.
a kick out of it, yeah.
you're gonna get nothing going in that place. But, and I can't believe some of the people go to Las Vegas with the idea of pawning something so they can gamble.
I know. I have a T-shirt from that place. My secretary went to Vegas and got me a T-shirt.
And then, of course, when they ask you, how much do you want?
Right.
You've lost your case there. But it's too bad.
Would it be possible to continue the hearing to whenever your next meeting is and just give us a little bit of time for them to talk to the kids and sort of get this all worked out? We're inclined to accept your generous offer, but we need a little time before we're sure that's what we want to do.
I don't have a problem with that. Here.
I don't you?
Yes, but I'll go along.
Thank you. When would that be?
I'm gonna have to defer to my secretary.
When we're
And I could
inside.
even advise you by letter, you don't need to, we don't need to show up if you don't want us to. We will be happy to if you want us to, but
I think I'd prefer that just to make sure there are no
Okay,
misunderstandings.
that's fine.
Yeah, I think we need the time to act extended,
Okay.
so we don't run into a.
When do we have the next one?
The schedule is open.
It
whenever
is.
you like.
Slow?
Right now, could change.
It's like being on vacation, isn't it?
No. Not really.
I'll declare the hearing open again, and the decision is going to be deferred until such time as
Just continue the matter from
as we can continue on a whole basis. We have a problem here getting all three together at the same time,
Understood.
so
You tell us whenever is a time that works for you is fine with us,
I'm gonna defer to you.
as long as it's a couple of weeks
It's
away.
Get a propitious time,
Do you want 2
and we'll
weeks?
be here.
2 weeks?
2 weeks is fine.
Okay, you wouldn't have to know. the
Oh, wait a
date.
minute, what's the date there?
Today is the
28th, 29th?
14th,
Yeah.
the 28th, yes.
No, I can't do that, it's gotta be the weekend. So we've got a couple of trials that week.
So is that the first Wednesday in October?
First Wednesday in October would be great.
Which would be the fifth.
Fifth?
October 5th?
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
It's a good offer.
Agreed.
May not come back a second time.
Thank you, gentlemen, we'll see you on the 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
Always good to see you, Bill.
You too, Mr. Newby.
Bill, are you gonna send a letter extending the time to rest?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is email okay, Maureen?
That's fine.
All right. Do we close the hearing?
The hearing is now closed,
All right.
14th of September.
I feel bad for the
I do
kids.
too.
You know? If it was his tree house, get the hell out of here.
Hey, that's why they're all here.
Yeah.
So we'll feel bad.
They give you a towel when you came in? That's not like an attorney having some compassion.
I know. Almost as amazing as Roy voting for the sign, isn't it?
History was made tonight.
You had a hard time living that down.
That doesn't bother me. The hook can be lowered. 12 months. Well, we'll see you, Robert. I hope things get a little better for you.